this video, I would like to talk about the section called 68C, that's the number, and it's called Summarizing Without Plagiarizing. It is located in the Prentice Hall Reference Guide. And I think this section is really important to talk about because we are going to be doing several activities that require you to summarize things. Also, we're going to be writing the research paper, which definitely requires you to summarize information without plagiarizing, okay? So the pages that this section covers in the edition that I'm using is, let's see, it starts on page 375, it runs through page 377. So it tells us that a summary is a brief statement, a brief restatement of the main ideas in a source using your own words. So if you look at the checklist on page 376, you will find that very, very helpful. When you summarize something, you want to make sure that, well, let me just give you an example of how I would do this. So say that I find an article that I want to summarize. Maybe, I don't know, it might be the whole article, it might be a page from the article, it might even be, a paragraph. So I read the information from the article that I'm interested in summarizing. Now, if it's something short, it might be a little bit easier to do this. But even if, I've read a whole article, I can still put that article away, not look at it. I can then, open up a Word document or take a sheet of paper and write down what I believe that article was about. Or if I'm summarizing a paragraph, I can write down the gist of that paragraph, what that information is about. I don't want to start my summary by saying, this paragraph says that, okay? I just want to, come out and say what the information is. I could say something like, in his article entitled blah, 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 whatever the title of the article is, John Smith suggests that, okay? So then when I'm finished, I want to look at the article again, look at the paragraph again, compare it to what I wrote, and make sure that I have not stolen any of the exact wording. Okay, I want to make sure that I have not stolen any of the sentence structures. Okay, because you can plagiarize. People mostly think about exact words being plagiarized, but you can also plagiarize the structure of a sentence. All right. So if you look at that checklist on page 376. It says that summaries use fewer words than the source being summarized. So when I summarize something, it needs to be significantly shorter than the thing I'm summarizing. So you're working on condensing the information. It also says summaries include only the main points and omit details, examples, illustrations, direct quotations, and other specifics. All right. So that means that you really have to understand the information that you're trying to summarize. Because you also want to be able to differentiate between details and main ideas. It also says summaries are written in your own words, are not copied from your source, and use your own sentence structures. Very important. Summaries are objective and do not include your own interpretation or reflect your slant on the material. This is really important. I don't want to know what your opinion is on the information that you're summarizing. That's not the purpose of a summary, okay? A summary will express the information from what you're summarizing in a more concise, condensed way, but it should not contain your opinion. Summaries represent the viewpoint of the author fairly and accurately. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're not misrepresenting anything that the author has said. Sometimes when we condense things, we might be tempted to take shortcuts and leave out explanations that would be necessary. So you don't want to forsake accurate representation for, concision, all right? And summaries should be cited in the documentation format, MLA, APA, CMOS, CSE, etc. We're using MLA, okay? So this mostly applies to when you're including a summary in your essay. You need to make sure that you document it correctly according to the style that you're supposed to be using. It also gives you instructions on page 376 or right below that checklist for how to summarize correctly. So I think this checklist is invaluable. It tells you to do just what I said earlier, that you read the information that you want to summarize, you attempt to make that summary, okay? Trying to avoid exact wording, trying to avoid, stealing the sentence structure. Then you go back and you compare what you wrote with what the original source says. And you have to, if you see any issues with using exact wording or using the sentence structure, you must address that. You must fix that. Let's see if there's anything else I want to say about summarizing. It's a very, very good idea to look at the sample summaries that are included in this section, because it gives you an excerpt that somebody then attempts to summarize. And the first example is an unacceptable summary. The other example is a much, much, much better summary. Harder to do, yes. A good summary is not easy to do. It takes some effort. But definitely, in order to avoid plagiarizing, summarizing is a skill you must learn. And it's also a skill that I hear teachers in other disciplines tell us English teachers all the time, that students do not really know how to do very well. So if this is a weak point for you, you want to make sure that you make this a priority and work on this.